Hello, children. This is Manish Sir, your English teacher. I have brought a video on a new chapter for the students of class 11th. We are not afraid to die if we can all be together. This is the topic for this video. And this chapter has been narrated by Gordon Cook and Alan East. Gordon Cook describes about his voyage. Voyage is a journey across the sea. He wants to set a voyage as a captain whom he wants to follow, and he wants to do the duplicate round the world voyage. So what happens in this story, let you know. Characters of this chapter. First character is the narrator, Gordon Cook, and second character, his wife, Mary. Third son, Jonathan, his son, who was at 6. And the fourth character, that is his daughter, Suzanne. Suzanne was 7 years old. Now this story revolves around the sea voyage. What happens next? Let you know. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan 6, daughter Suzanne 7, and I, the narrator of this chapter, Gordon Cook, set sail from Plymouth, England, to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. Now the narrator describes about the characters, the participants of the voyage. The narrator, his wife Mary, his son Jonathan, and his daughter Suzanne. 4 people were there in the voyage. It was about to be sailed from Plymouth to England. Plymouth, it is a place situated in England, to duplicate the round, and he wants to do the same as the Captain James Cook earlier 200 years made the world voyage. He made a round of the whole world voyage before 200 years. And for the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman. Now the narrator, he is 37 years old and is also an old businessman, had dreamed of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer. The past 16 years, we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. Gordon Cook, is at 37, and along with his wife Mary, they both have dreamed of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and they wanted to sail in the guidance of a famous explorer. And for the 16 years They have been spending their leisure time owning, making it fluent. What? Seafaring skills, voyage are riding, swimming, journey in the sea. They were being skilled in the British waters. They were being trained. They were getting trained in the British waters for 16 years ago. What happens in the next paragraph of this chapter? Our boat, wave walker. This is the thing to remind. The name of the boat, wave walker. A 23-meter, 30-ton wooden hull beauty. The length of the boat, wave walker, is 23 meters and the weight 30 ton, 1000 kilograms in a ton. So it was 30,000. Okay, hull beauty and been professionally built. And it was professionally built for the voyage, especially, and we had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. And as much as, the bad weather, in the bad weather, we launched and tested the wave walker for its performance, how smoothly it performs in the bad weather. They tried just as bad as weather they could find out. They tried and tested the boat so that it would be confirmed that it is performing well or not. The first leg of our planned 3 year, they planned 3 years of their voyage. 105,000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. They planned for their first voyage 3 years, and the distance would be 105,000 kilometers. The journey was passed pleasantly as they sailed down in the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. There, before heading east, we took on 2 crewmen, and before heading, approaching towards east further, they hired 2 crewmen, assistant sailor, American Larry Weasel and Swiss Herb Segler. These are the names of those 2 crewmen to help us tackle one of the world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Ocean. And they were hired, American Larry Weasel and Swiss Herb Segler. They had been hired for helping to tackle one of the world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Ocean. Southern Indian Ocean, it is the one of the world's roughest seas. And to tackle this part of seas, they hired 2 crewmen. One was American Larry Weasel and second Swiss Herb Segler. What happened in the next paragraph? On our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. Next day, it was the second day of their voyage. As they came out of Cape Town, they began to encounter and face up strong winds, strong blowing winds. For the next few weeks, they blew continuously, and the wind had been blowing continuously for next few days or weeks. Gales did not worry me. And Gordon Cook, the narrator of this chapter, was not worried or afraid of gales, but the size of the waves was alarming, up to 15 meters as high as our mainmast. But the terrifying waves was alarming, up to 15 meters, meters. Means the waves, it was rising, alarming, up to 15 meters upwards, as high as our main mast. Mast, it is a long pole on the boat. It stands upwards, and the height of mast, the long pole, is 15 meters. And the waves were rising upwards, up to 15 meters, as high as their main mast of the boat. December 25 found us 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town, and till 25th December they just covered and approached past 3,500 kilometers of the distance towards east of Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday, complete with a Christmas tree. And despite of atrocious weather, bad weather, they have had a wonderful holiday with a Christmas tree. New Year's Day saw no improvement in the weather. It was the time of New Year. In the above paragraph, as you could see, 25th of December, they passed 3,500 kilometers towards east of Cape Town. After 5 days, it was the time of 1st January, but there was no improvement in the weather or the condition of climate. But we reasoned that it had to change soon. But they expected and hoped that weather would be changed as soon as it is possible. And it did change for the worse. And it did change. The weather had changed. Now what happens in the next paragraph? At dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jeep and were still making 8 knots. As the waves, they were gigantic, in a circular shape, and waves were rising upwards, alarming danger zone, and they were sailing with only a small storm jeep in the boat. There was only a small storm jeep. It could help the crewmen or the people or the sailor to be escaped out if storm comes, and were still making 8 knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas rolling towards us. And as we were moving forward, just the ship was rising to the top of each wave. To move forward, they could see endless, which has no end, enormous, tremendous seas rolling towards us. It seems that the sea was rolling towards the boat. and the screaming of the wind and spray was painful to the ears. And you could hear when you ride this type of wind blowing. Wind spray was painful to the ears. It seems that the blow of air was screaming out loudly, and it was not pleasant to hear. And the screaming, the painful sound of blowing ears was screaming. And to slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jeep and lashed a heavy mooring rope in a loop across the stern. Then we double lashed everything, went through our life raft drill, attached lifeliness, donned oilskins and life jackets, and waited. We were ready, having every useful things with us. We doubled lashed everything. We went through our life raft drill, attached lifeliness, donned oilskins and life jackets. They collected all the useful things and jackets, lifeliness, donned oilskins and raft drill. Everything was ready, and they were waiting when they had to escape from there, because it was not a fantastic weather, and the condition, the premonition of the weather or climate was alarming, that something was about to be danger in their voyage. So they were just getting ready and waited what happens next. That's it for this video. Keep learning.